Let's open our Bibles to the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 11. And we'll read from verse 2 to verse 7. Deuteronomy chapter 11. It says here, oh yes, that's right, we need to stand up. It says here, "And know ye this day, for I speak not with your children, which have not known, and which have not seen the chastisement of the Lord your God, his greatness, his mighty hand, and his stretched out arm, and his miracles, and his acts, which he did in the midst of Egypt unto Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, and unto all his land. And what he did unto the army of Egypt, unto their horses, and unto their chariots, how he made the water of the Red Sea to overflow them as they pursued after you, and how the Lord had destroyed them unto this day. And what he did unto you in the wilderness until he came unto this place. And what he did unto Dathan and Abiram, the sons of Eliab, the son of Reuben, how the earth opened her mouth and swallowed them up, and their households and their tents, and all the substance that was in their possession in the midst of all Israel. But your eyes have seen all the great acts of the Lord which he did." Thank you. Maybe seated. See here. The title of my message today, and I don't want anybody to think ugly about it. Stephanie already got on to me with this title, but it doesn't mean what you think it means. Just help me with, stay with me until the end of the message. But I titled this message today, OMG. OMG. It's not what you think it is. With the upgrade of technology today comes new terms, comes new lingos. We read all these messages that says LOL and IDK, and I don't even know what these things mean. Some of them are, I don't know some of them. FYI, all that stuff, IMHO, PTL, all that. Last week I just learned a new thing, SMH. They were texting me. They were having a group text, and I just happened to get it. And it was Jessica and them. They were in the lake, and Auburn was trying to be ugly with an insect, I guess, trying to hurt the insect. And Jessica texts SMH, and I'm like, what does that mean? And I found out it means shaking my head. And I thought to myself, well, Auburn trying to hurt that insect, it means more than that, and it means, well, I forgot what it means now, but so much hate, Yeah, and I learned another new lingo 2 weeks ago, ATM, and I thought, well, it's not the machine where you get money, it's at the moment. That's what ATM means. So a lot of things, there just are the many lingos out there. Of course, there's DIY and all that, TTYL, all that. Stephanie just learned one thing this morning, CTTO. See, all that stuff. These acronyms have been familiar today in today's language. Now if we adults don't know what these acronyms mean, well, ask your children. You'll find out they speak a different language you and I have never been taught. Well, in this message of mine, like I said, I titled my message today, OMG, and it's not what you think it is. So stay with me with the end of this message. I'll tell you what it means later. And here's my intro to this message of mine. And a small girl was about to climb a hilltop one day, but when she saw the sight of the ridges, the steep, rough path, and the ridges and all that, she was in dismay. And she said, why isn't there a smooth spot anywhere where I can climb in this hill? It's all ridgy and stony, she said. And her brother said to her, well, how else could we climb on top of the hill if it wasn't for those ridges? They're the bumps that we step on to get up there. And he's right. Has any one of you ever climbed a slope that is smooth or with ridges in it? You'll know that the one with the bumps in it can take you in the top of the hill easier. You know, we hear pastors, well, before I continue, I'll try not to mention names today. I mean, I was warned already last Wednesday try not to mention names. I know we're in the internet now, so I don't want to, my message goes viral just overnight. So I'll try not to mention names, okay? Especially the one with negative effects in it. But you hear pastors say all the time, trials, testings, tribulations, chastisements, they're good for you. They're good for you. And sometimes you don't understand that. And what the pastor is basically saying is that these ridges and these bumps in life's journey is good for you. Do you feel sometimes you're in a mess because you're going through trials? Maybe you don't need to fret about it. Those trials and ridges will help you get to the top. In the mess you're in, there is a good message. With the mess you're in, there is a good message. Look at Job. He was in a mess. With the exception of his life and his wife, he lost everything. But the message in the mess he was in is this: when all is gone, stick to God. Stick to God. That's the message in the mess he's in. King Saul and the army of Israel were in a mess when they saw Goliath. But David saw a message in the mess. And the message is, you can defeat a giant with a giant God. It's like the old saying, when fighting giants, the mess in your life, when fighting giants, face it with a giant God. Joseph was in a mess. He was betrayed by his brothers. He was accused of a crime he did not commit and sent to prison. The message from his mess was this: from a prisoner, you can become a prime minister. From prison, you can go to the palace. When he was reunited with his brothers, he told them, what you guys meant for evil, the mess, God meant it for good. The message. See, from your mess can come your greatest message. It's true, they say, and this is true, that the medicine that cures a snake bite comes from the venom itself. If you ever get, God forbid, if you ever get bitten by a poisonous snake and you go to the ER, the first thing they're going to ask you, where's the snake? Did you kill the snake? Because if you had the snake with you, dead already, don't bring it to the ER alive. If you brought the snake with you to the ER, they can use that same venom to cure you. From its poisonous venom will come the antidote. What was once your poison can now become your potion, your medicine. The same venom that was harmful to you will now help you. See, the same mess that you were in it's the same message that will help you. You know, it's true, they say, that the vaccine from the flu comes from the flu virus itself. What was meant to harm you, now is meant to heal you. Your trials can become your triumphs. Your chastisement can become your conquests. Your tribulations can become your trophies. Again, I'll try not to mention names. You may know who this is. But we have a local boy here in Lyons. Jonathan and Bailey played baseball with him. And one day, he got into a car wreck. And he was paralyzed from the waist down. But to his mess came a message. I heard that this boy from the hospital bed came to know the Lord as his Savior. He was saved. We have an old member of this church, already gone to be with the Lord. I guess I can mention his name, Brother Moody. He was in a mess. He was terminally ill. He knew he was dying. But like the Apostle Paul said, he saw pleasure in his mess. You heard Brother Paul say that, Brother Moody said, I'm glad God put this lung cancer on me. And the message in his mess was, even in your last days, salvation is never too late. Brother Kendall one time called Brother Paul and said, I found a city block where we can build a church house. Brother Paul saw it as a mess, waiting to happen. With only 9 active church members, he was probably saying, that's like buying a car we cannot afford to pay. But the mess became a bless. It's where Landmark Baptist Church stands today. See, so what's the mess you got yourself into? Divorce, maybe, sickness, mental breakdown, in and out of rehab, bankruptcy, loss of a job or a loved one. Life is shattering, going through a midlife crisis, kids living home and going prodigal. We got kids, our own today, back talking and trash talking their parents. That is some kind of a mess. We have got kids today, raised in this church, missing church. Believe it or not, that's a mess. It's a mess when we miss church a lot. Last month alone, Brother Paul said, when you preach this today, people will be back from Daytona by now, or Florida by now. But last month alone, we got church members who never been to church in the entire month of July. And I know. I've seen it. I cleaned this church twice last month, and you ought to see the carpet between some of these pews. Nobody has stepped on them. There's no foot tracks, and there's none of that. It was easier for me to clean the church. I was like, when is the next vacation coming, So, yeah, and it's a mess. And I'm just praying that from their messing will come their blessing. Remember, ministry comes from messes. Don't judge people for their past seasons of life. One season, David was a shepherd. The next season, he was a king. One season, Ruth was working in the field. The next season, she owned the field. One season, Mordecai was outside the king's palace. The next season, he was inside. We serve a God that can turn things around in the season. From being a patient, you can become a physician. Or should I say, God's physician assistant. From your mistakes can come your best corrections. Your failures can come your great success. From your agony can come your destiny. From your downfall can come your upliftment. From your tragedy can come your triumphs. From your downs can come your ups. From your mess can come the Messiah. From your mess can come the message. The message. The clay pot after being exposed to the heat, becomes a porcelain. You know, if there's a yin, there's a yang. There's a sip, there's a sap. There's a leaking, there's a ticking. You know, if there's a day in, there's a day out. There's dark, there's light. You know, if there's a negative, there's a positive. It balances out. See? Yeah, it balances out. It's kind of like, you know, trying to be funny. It's kind of like if there's an Abby, there's an alley, you know? If there's a J, there's a Bay. There's a Nick, there's a Nate, you know? There's a Chubby, there's a Chugga. There's an Auburn, there's a, what is his name again? Abram, there's an Abram, yeah. There's an Adam, there's a Eve. Yeah, you think I'm going to say Lacey. Yeah, I mean, there's a Jessica, there's a, forget it. There's a Maverick, there's a Goose, you know? So one of them is a mess, the other's a bless. No, I'm just kidding. What I'm saying is it balances out. It symbolizes the belief that there is two sides of everything. Two sides of everything. If there's a mess, there's a bless. Lord willing, it works like that. I know there are times when the bless comes first and then the mess comes later on, and it never changes. It stays there. You know, I don't know if you have heard of the American legend named Jedediah Smith. You know, Jedediah Smith was attacked by a bear one day, which, you know, and the bear scraped the side of his face. But after his men killed the bear, Jedediah told them, "Thank God, He provided us with supper tonight." Out of that mess, being attacked by the bear, he saw a message. He and his companions were blessed with supper. You know, years ago, we got 3 of our church members. Maybe it's okay to mention the names. In a short span of time, they were all involved individually in a car accident. Katie had a car wreck here at Toombs County, Damien in Statesboro, Kristen in Dublin. All at a short span of time. Like Brother Paul said, don't think about the accident, the mess. Think about the Lord who took care of them. The message or the Messiah. You know, we had a church member. Like I said, I'm going to be careful mentioning names. Her husband got sick. So sick that he was transferred to Savannah. You know, it could have been a life-threatening situation. It took a while to find out what's wrong with him. All the while, waiting for the diagnosis, he was in a mess. I bet his wife, she's here today, and his kids were in a mess too. But then he got better. And out of that mess brought about a message. It brought him to come to church regularly, more than ever. Not just a member, though. I think our sister over here is working on that. You know, from that mess came out a message. My wife years ago was in a mess. One time she took a medicine and had a side effect. Was sent to the hospital for it. She almost died. Her doctor said, in the next appointment, the doctor said, "I did not expect you to live." Neither did I. I told her, "I can't believe you're still alive. God must have a purpose for you." You know. And you know what? From all that mess, it brought about a message. She got saved and had a testimony today that you and I have never expected to see. It's a testimony that will put me to shame, maybe put some of us to shame. You know, not trying to make her head big, but you ought to be with her sometimes. In Walmart, in the waiting room, all that, she's always witnessing the people. You know, all because she just took one medicine with made a mess out of her. And I'm telling you, medicines are poisonous, folks. You know, if you need to remember something about drugs, it's this: all drugs are poison. All poisons are all drugs. You need to remember that. I know that, Tylenol, if you take one Tylenol, it's good for you if you take in the right dosage. You overdose with it, it can kill you. Cough syrup, you took the right dosage, it'll help you. You overdose on the cough syrup, it'll kill you. That's just the side effects of medicine sometimes. But one of them, medicines are poisonous, and all poisons are medicines. And then we have another church member here today. Recently he came forward. He basically told us he was in a mess in his life. Recently. Not being a good dad, not being a good husband, not being a good church member. His family was in a mess because of his mess. Family gets affected, folks, when you're in a mess. But out of that mess, it brought about a message. The salvation of his young daughter. And, his young daughter. How old is Ella? 8. I thought it was 5. Anyway, salvation of his 8-year-old daughter. It caused him to humble himself, come forward and make a U-turn. Your mess can be a bless, folks. Before success comes, you must fail first. Before getting up comes, you must first be down. Before you rise, you must fall first. Sometimes before the bless comes, you must be in a mess. I'd rather go to church with messed up people than church goers who dislike messed up people. And don't judge others just because they sin differently than you or have a different past than you have. It is known that the best advisors are those who have been there and done that. The best alcoholic advisors to say are those who were former alcoholics. Because from their mess, you can be blessed. Right? The saying goes, it takes a thief to catch a thief. Why? Because they've been there, done that. They know the ins and the outs. Whatever mess you're in, one day you will tell that story on how you'd overcome it and how God pulled you from it. That messed up story of yours can become part of someone else's survival and direction guide one day. They will be blessed by it. You will live to tell about it. God brings men to deep waters, not to drown them, but to cleanse them. To realize the worth of the anchor, we need to feel the storm. It's true that the grass is greener after a heavy rain. In our text in Deuteronomy, it is saying that Moses recounts the great and terrible works of God, the blessings and the messes, which their eyes have seen. What our eyes have seen, when we are in a mess or when we were blessed, should affect us, make us better afterwards. It reminds us to remember what we've learned about the Lord through our experience with Him. The psalmist said that God will lead you to green pastures, but also in the valley of death, where misery can come. But He will be with you in both places. We gain endurance, character, confidence in the valley. Everything happens for a reason. If the setback was not necessary, if the mess wasn't necessary, you won't be there. God won't give it to you. The valley you face today is for your tomorrow. There's something out there to push you forward. A man said one time, trouble is inevitable, but misery is optional. It's up to you if you get stressed out, depressed, defeated, etc. In the Bible, in 1 Kings chapter 20, the army of Ben-Hadad was challenged to fight the Syrians in the valley instead of the hills. Because in the hills is where the Syrians can be defeated. But Ben-Hadad accepted the challenge to fight the Syrians in the valley, where they can lose the battle. But there, they defeated the Syrians and proved that God is the God in the valley and in the hills. God will be with you in both places. in your mess and in your bless, in your valleys and in your hills. In Psalms 84, David's army was going to fight the Philistines in the valley of Rephaim. The Lord delivered the Philistines in their hands, and David renamed the valley Baal Perazim, which means master of breakthrough. Like David did, you may be renaming your valley you're in. What was meant to stop you have kept you going. The valley of weeping becomes refreshing. The tears become your blessing. As the saying goes, if God made a mountain smooth, no one will be able to climb it. No one will be able to climb it. So how's the mountain of your life? How's the mountain of your life? As you look at the mess you're in, your life, your finances, your family, or your church, don't be overwhelmed. I know it's easier said than done. If you're in a mess, you're in a mess. Sometimes it's hard. It's hard to look at the blessings of it. I know I've been there and done that. But if you're in a mess, don't be overwhelmed. Try not to be overwhelmed. Pray, trust the Lord, and shift to the rubbish. Shift to the debris. Look through the cracks until you spot it. Spot what? Spot the message in the mess you're in. It's hidden there somewhere. The miracle in your life is in your mess. And when you find it, tell it to everyone. When you find your blessing in your messing, tell it to everyone. Or do what these kids in church love to do all the time. Text. Text people. Get to your iPhones, your Samsungs, your flip phones, your Snapchats, your laptops, and text everybody. And type, here it is, OMG. It stands for Oh My Good Mess. Oh my good mess. Anyway, that's my message today. God bless you. Thank you.